it suffices even that a person could eat something for the third meal, even though although he doesn't wash for bread, it'll suffice. In halacha it suffices. The reason is because it is a level that cannot be expressed in eating. So Hasidus explains that this is a level that's higher than time. It is something that's higher than all the limitations. Nachala b'li mitzorim. It is an inheritance that's higher than any limitations and frames. So Hasidus explains when it comes Sunday, we again say, it's the first day of the creation. So the question was, it's the first day of the creation. Thousands, tens of thousands of days have passed since the beginning of the creation. 5,770 years ago. So the Rav Shneur Zalman of Liadi explains that when we're speaking about Sunday, it is not just a reflection of the previous Sunday. Shabbos has uplifted us to a stage which is higher than time. And because it has uplifted us higher than time, we begin a new cycle after that. The new cycle is Sunday. And generally, every cycle in time is 7. 7 days a week, 7 years a Shemitah, a sabbatical year, 7 sabbatical years is a Yovel, a Jubilee. Everything is 7. Because 7 basically is the standard referring to the 7 attributes under the intellect and other points regarding 7. And therefore, when it came to the time of the sanctuary, when they actually made a dedication, and it became the 8th day, all of a sudden says, Vahi Bayim Hashmini, and 8th day arrived. So all the commentaries ask the question, what is the 8th day? What's the significance of the 8th day? So the answer, the 8th is beyond the cycle of the 7. 7 is a structure, a limited structure within time. 8 is beyond it. The word 8 is higher than time and place, especially if it's a double 8. So therefore, this is basically how a person lifts himself up higher than time and place. That's the union of 8. But when we speak about a person finding themselves in the world, they have to remember that what bridges everything together is the energy. And the energy is reflected in time, because that's the sequence of time. The sequence of the energy, in both directions, the rhythm is basically the source for time. And therefore, when we come to any day, we come to a Shabbos, we come to Rosh Hashanah. It's not just we're going through a train station. It's Rosh Hashanah, I'm coming to Shul, I'm experiencing the Shofar. It is actually something that is a life matter. Anything that's considered connected in time, that ever brings in the Yom Yom, time is not only something on the clock, it is a concept in life. Whatever was accomplished was accomplished. Time is actually related to the person, to the activities of the person. And as the Rebbe says in the Yom Yom, the 17th of Cheshvan, that a day goes by, a week goes by, a year goes by, a sabbatical goes by. It is not just a matter of time, it is a matter of life. It is an inyan in life. And as one of the Rebbe said, a summer day and a winter night is a year. It's actually a year, looking at the quality of time. And it's interesting, the Rebbe once said a very interesting inyan in regards to time. Valuing time. The Rebbe says when we speak about valuing time, a person sometimes would tend to think, this is my addition, that they're sometimes so rich with time, they can afford to waste time. Gossip, do other things that are not really of such a value, and sometimes they're even embarrassed to discuss it with others, what they did in their spare time. And but they feel, why shouldn't they? I mean, they're human beings, souls and bodies, they're not angels. And the Mela, they're rich in time, why can't they contribute a little for other things? So the Rebbe explains a very interesting concept. When we look at the ocean, while the sun is shining, or any body of water, we see the whole ray of the sun shining on that body of water. Suppose we should take out a drop of that water and place it on a table or on anything else near that water, near that ocean or lake or any body of water. how much of the sun would we see on that drop? We'd see the whole sun. It's reflected on the also there. So the Rebbe says the same is with time. You have a big chunk of time, you see a big ray, you see a big purpose, you see a certain intention of the creation of time. The Rebbe says, but even a unit in time has a certain mission, a certain intention of its creation. And it doesn't only reflect part of the intention, but it reflects the whole intention of the creation. And therefore you will see the whole sun on that unit of that drop of water, because in every unit of time is fulfilled the whole purpose of the creation. This is a very heavy piece. This means, we're human beings, this means that we really need to value time and fulfill it in a very meaningful way. And this is also what the Rebbe says, the interesting thing about a certain sage. Rav Yechanan ben Zakkai. He's a very famous sage. He lived 120 years. He was one that the Talmud speaks many compliments about him. And it says 40 years he studied, 40 years he taught, and 40 years he supported. He was one of the pillars in the Jewish nation. When Rome took over Israel, they had a destruction, he asked they should take him out with a box to the Roman general. In a coffin. They took him out, and then he got up out of the coffin, and he said, I want you to give me a yeshiva somewhere else to be able to continue learning. This is the middle of everything happening during the destruction of the Second Temple. This Rabbi Yechanan ben Zakkai, before he left this world, began crying bitterly. So the Talmud tells us in the Tractate of Brachos that when the Talmidim, the students, asked him, why are you crying? He says, because I don't know in what direction I'm going. Am I going to paradise? I'm going the other way. So Hasidus asked the question, a person of such stature as Rabbi Yechanan ben Zakkai should have doubts. How could that be? The man fulfilled a life of 120 years in the most satisfying way, satisfactory way, in spiritual sense, and everything that was needed. So Hasidus explains many different answers. And one of the answers that's given in this Maimer that the Rebbe, in this discourse that the Rebbe gave in 1952, this is a separate discourse, Parsha Mishpatim, is because he did not have time to think about where he was holding. He was so occupied in his work that he did not have time to stop and think, did I do this, did I do that, where am I holding, what's my credentials. He didn't have any time to stop and think, because every minute was precious to him. And the Rebbe continues and says, a person needs to know they are here in this world for a mission. And the mission is not theirs, it's a godly mission. And therefore when they're in a mission, they have a timetable to 120. But there's a certain timetable for the different details of the mission. And therefore, when it comes to a certain point, a person needs to know that he has to fulfill time. And if a minute passes by and the part of the mission was not fulfilled, it is like he is actually rebelling and disrespecting the Almighty who gave him this mission. Because he is actually was faulty, negligent with this moment that was created for a certain purpose. And there was a certain time that the Rebbe put down his head on the table, started to cry by this discourse. Wow. Never happened. The Rebbe put down his head on the table, started to cry by this discourse, speaking about the sensitive mission that we're on in this physical world. Mentioned earlier, B'negea to Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah is, we're going through a certain day in the year. It's not just a day. It's a meaning in life. The Rebbe says, they spoke to students, college students in 1951. The Rebbe says, time is a creation and was created for a certain purpose. And therefore it needs to be used out in fullest mission, fullest purpose and contents. And therefore the Rebbe says there's no time to waste. And the Rebbe says, especially young people, that their bodies are still growing, so it signifies that they themselves are actually still in the phase of, in a spiritual sense, accomplishing what they